Hello everyone and welcome back yet again to the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you as always by the GSMC Sports Network. Before we get into our second segment, which will be a good one, transitioning to the realm of college basketball, I do want to remind you yet again that if you do feel so inclined, please consider leaving a tip or donation at the link gsmc.cloud. It's a huge support to both me and my fellow podcasters and ultimately the network as a whole. You can also leave any questions, comments, or concerns about the show, and they will be answered and addressed at the beginning of the next episode. Without further ado, let's stick with this segment and talk about the realm of college basketball and who might win the award for its best player this season. Now, the landscape of college basketball is ever-changing. NIL deals, transfer portal rumors, teams getting better, coaches staying, and it all will unfold in what should be one of the most even playing fields in college basketball in recent years, parity-wise, because there are some teams that are very transfer-heavy, but there are also some teams that have recruited well, and I think it shows what people think of this top 25. That being said, this list of win an award favorites are all on teams that I think can compete to win March Madness, and that I think really fit the model of different perspectives of what a college basketball player can be. There are big men, there are transfers, there are point guards, there is even one freshman. And so I think that this list is highly indicative of the ever-changing landscape of college basketball, and that's why I'm so excited to present it to you guys. Without further ado, let's jump right into the list, starting off at number 5, a young man who is a transferred to a school that has the number 1 win an award betting favorite, we'll talk about later, but I think that dynamic's going to be very interesting. And without further ado, number 5 is Mr. A.J. Storr, transferring from Wisconsin to the Kansas Jayhawks, plus 1,800 to win the award. 16.8 points average, 3.9 rebounds per game, 43.4 field goal percentage. And I love A.J. Storr because when I think about Kansas, right, I don't want to mention the name because it will spoil it, but they have a big presence under the basket, and so they really wanted to open up their inside-outside game. I like DeJuan Harris as a ball handler, but I don't necessarily like him as a shooter. And they just got Zeke Mayo as well from SDSU, who is a fantastic shooter. And so A.J. Storr is the glue that's going to hold it all together. He's going to be a very metronomic presence. He might not get as many points as others on this Jayhawks team, but he's someone who can hold it down. And I think at number 5, well, he's not the best value to win this award. I certainly feel that at a position such a small forward that's getting a little bit less valued in college basketball, if he just does put up bigger stats than people expect, I do believe that he has a chance to ascend, especially because he has that guy at the top of this list bolstering his case should they combine well, and I think they will, because A.J. Storr was one of the most underrated players in Big Ten play last year. I'm glad that he has a chance to get into that competitive landscape of Big 12 basketball and how fun that conference looks. And then, let's go into number 4 here. A guy from Alabama who's making a lot of noise, one of the best three-point shooters in the nation, on a team that's looking to have one of the best offenses yet again in the nation and perhaps win March Madness at the end of the day. And that is Mark Sears. Plus 1,400, a big leap. 14th in the nation in scoring per game at 21.5 points per game. 50.8% field goal percentage, a program record, 797 points last year. So as you can see, Mark Sears is so good at leading this Alabama team and having it center around high percentage offensive looks and being the force from behind the line that Alabama needs. Now look at this Alabama team. and I think about how their style of play has evolved. Yes, you wanted to bring in someone like a Cliff Omeroy from Rutgers, who is a fantastic addition to this team because he adds much-needed rim protection and dominance on the defensive side of the ball to counteract the more intelligent, high IQ play of a guy like Grant Nelson down low. I think that Mark Sears really fires up this team offensively because they know that whenever they're in a situation where they feel as if they might be trapped, they have Mark Sears, who's a highly intelligent player. He's not just a three-point shooter to bail them out because he knows when the time is needed to shoot a three-pointer, but he's not always looking for the three-pointer. He knows when he's hot, and he knows when he needs his teammates to really step up around him. And so, when I think about Mark Sears, at plus 1,400 in this betting odds race, I really think that a lot of people might be undervaluing him, and he would be my pick, in all honesty, to win the Wooden Award this year. It all depends on how Alabama improves all around rather than just offensively. Because if Mark Sears, A, continues shooting the three-point shot well, B, includes all his teammates, and C, is at least on a Final Four team, then he has the case. But if Alabama regresses even one bit, that might hinder his case because they're not as strong defensively as some other teams around them. And they have a couple games where it will be proven that either their offensive mindset works or it doesn't. And I'm really excited to see how that will affect the play of Mark Sears. But for now, at number 4, I think he's a nice value pick. And now, at number 3, the only freshman on this list, the first freshman perhaps to ever win it since a fellow Duke player in Zion Williamson, and that is Cooper Flagg. And what I love about Cooper Flagg is that along with him and Kaman Malwak, they both have experience playing against the NBA's elite talent. They both played against Team USA, and they both were perhaps two of the better players in the court. And so coming into Duke, both of them should immediately make noise. And what I love about Cooper Flagg is he's a well-rounded player at plus 1,200. Listen to his high school stats. 16.1 points per game, 7.6 assists per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, 2.7 blocks per game, and a 54.8% field goal percentage. When I think about this Duke team, right, it's starting to become less of, say, a player factory, right? You're producing one-and-dones. It's starting to become a mix of that. It's starting to become having guys like Tyrese Proctor and Caleb Foster returning, and guys like Flagg and Malwak, two high-profile 2025 NBA draft prospects coming through. It's starting to become a nice little mix. And I think that that's what makes Duke so scary. If Cooper Flagg and Kaman Malwak really are what Duke think they are, then there could be a very special team and a very special duo. And because of his USA background, playing high-level talent at such a young age, Cooper Flagg may have the savvy to become the first freshman to win it, like I said, since Zion Williamson, and only the fourth to do so. And so, while there are so many other guys who have more experience than him, have played in this college basketball setup for so long and feel like such household names, at the end of the day, it's not insane to say that Cooper Flagg will not raise his profile and really help his case should he do that, because of the fact he's linked so heavily with the 2025 NBA draft. And so, at the end of the day, he's such a well-rounded player too. I think that Cooper Flagg could be a popular pick. So look out for him as the season goes on. But number 2, another very experienced guard, and someone who is definitely going to have to compensate for the loss of Armando Bacot at North Carolina. That's R.J. Davis. North Carolina looks drastically different from last year and the past couple of years when they were competing for Final Four spots. Now R.J. Davis is a star, and he's really going to have to bolster this team that's going to be pretty guard-centric. They have a guy like Elliot Cadeau, who they truly believe in. But at the end of the day, R.J. Davis is a very solid player. 21.2 points per game, 42.8% field goal percentage, won the Jerry West Award for Best Shooting Guard. So he has that experience of winning an award. But in North Carolina, I'm not sure how they're going to operate, really. They don't have a big man. Maybe Van Allen Lubin will step up and be the guy for them, but I'm not so sure that R.J. Davis can succeed without the presence of Armando Bacot. They were so good in the pick and roll. They were so good at understanding each other. And now he has other guards around him who are younger and might, as a result, get more minutes as they acclimate to this college basketball setup. And so R.J. Davis is a very intriguing number 2 option at plus 800. I do believe he's one of the better guards in the country, but he's going to have to prove himself as the best player, without a doubt, on North Carolina to get any sense of praise. And it's going to be very difficult because the shooting guard position is drastically changing as more and more teams are getting very centered around centers and big men. And that's why the number 1 player on this list is a big man, and perhaps the best returning big man in the nation. And if he hadn't returned, who knows how this win award race would have shaked out. And that is Hunter Dickinson of the Kansas Jayhawks, the guy who A.J. Storr will be playing with next year, making his triumphant return to college basketball. It was a huge if, seeing as to how he had the stats and numbers to potentially be a high draft pick in this year's NBA draft. But Hunter Dickinson returning at plus 800 as well. 17.9 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game, 54.8 percentage from the field goal line. And I think that what I love about Hunter Dickinson is that he's so good at understanding the nuances of the center position. He understands what it means to be a modern big man. And a Kansas team that used to be so heavily predicated on inside-outside combinations and meaning that more pressure was on the guards, now that Kansas has assumed the mantle as this dominant big man-centered team surrounded by Hunter Dickinson, I really believe that Kansas is going to want Hunter Dickinson to truly assume the role of not just a high-profile center, but a win an award favorite. And I think that he has the best chance out of anyone to win that award because of how people view big men in this league. That will just about do it for this segment. Coming up next, we give you guys an update on the Olympic betting landscape now that different events are fully underway and some are into the quarterfinal stages. We're going to look at those events right after the break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports?